Ghosts have always been a thing with me since I was a little kid, you know? Very scared little kid. Going to people's houses, I'd visit them, and then I'd be like,
In 1999, an American psychological thriller opened in theaters with modest expectations. By the end of its run, The Sixth Sense had earned over $670 million worldwide, secured 6 Academy Award nominations, and became the second highest-grossing film of the year. The performances were incredible. However, M. Night Shyamalan didn't just write a clever twist ending. Every frame, sound, and color choice was weaponized to tell 2 completely different stories simultaneously. The color red appears in dozens of shots throughout the film. Bruce Willis never opens a single door in the entire movie. His breathing was controlled in ways that most viewers never consciously noticed. Even the temperature drops in certain scenes and were calculated to manipulate perception. These are secrets that will fundamentally change how you experience the entire film, and we're about to get right into it. So, keep watching. The Ghost Rules System.
Was that if a ghost was mad or angry, it got cold. When we have the
filmmakers established strict rules for how ghosts interact with the world, and one of the most important rules is that when a ghost is angry, the temperature drops. This explains why we see cold breath in certain scenes but not in others. Bruce Willis's character Malcolm doesn't cause temperature drops because he's not angry. He's trying to help and doesn't even know he's dead. This rule creates one of the film's most brilliant instances of misdirection. Throughout the movie, audiences see Cole's breath become visible in terrifying moments, like in his tent, in the church, when angry spirits are near. The cold becomes a visual cue for supernatural danger. But Malcolm never triggers this effect because his emotional state is entirely different from the traumatized, angry ghosts Cole usually encounters. The production team went to extreme lengths to maintain this consistency. What they did was they would drape this huge plastic sheeting over the sets and then pump in cold air so that it would be below freezing, and you could see our breath, Osment explained to Variety. So he couldn't trust it to produce accurate cold breath. Therefore, they used refrigeration equipment on set to drop temperatures for specific scenes, ensuring the actor's breath would be naturally visible. For scenes with Malcolm present, they deliberately kept the set at normal temperature so Bruce Willis wouldn't produce visible breath, even when other characters did. Now, this detail works on multiple levels. If you watch this movie for the first time, the cold feels like a generic ghost nearby signal. The second time, you realize Malcolm never caused it because his emotional state is peaceful. This revealed that ghosts aren't just spirits, they're emotional echoes, and their emotional state affects the physical world. The angry ghosts in Cole's apartment, the woman who was shot in the head, and the boy in the hospital were trapped by their violent, traumatic demise. Malcolm, by contrast, is trapped by denial and unfinished business. So his temperature signature reflects his character: calm, professional, helpful, even in death. Additionally, the temperature drop isn't just a visual effect. It's rooted in actual paranormal research and folklore about spirits drawing energy from their environment to manifest, often causing cold spots. Shyamalan incorporated this traditional ghost lore but gave it specific emotional logic within his plot. Malcolm's clothes. This included his trench coat, the sweatshirt he put on when it got cold, his muffler, his tie, and the same shirt we all see in every scene. This is costume design as storytelling at its most sophisticated level. The night Malcolm passed on, he went through a sequence of events, coming home from an award ceremony in formal clothes, relaxing at home, adding a sweatshirt when it got cold, and being shot. His ghost is then frozen, wearing the accumulated layers from that fatal evening. Costume designer Joanna Johnston had to meticulously track these pieces throughout the shoot, which was filmed non-sequentially over months. Every single scene had to maintain perfect continuity with Malcolm's unchanging outfit, while every other character, especially Anna, progressed through seasonal wardrobes showing the passage of time. The contrast is devastating once you notice it. Anna wears different outfits in every scene, from business suits to casual wear and formal dresses. Cole and his mother change clothes regularly, marking the passage of weeks and months, while Malcolm, on the other hand, is stuck in time wearing the same shirt, same jacket, same pants from the night he passed on. The The film, as evidenced by the changing seasons visible through windows and the changing wardrobes, takes place over several months, with Malcolm wearing the same outfit, attending therapy sessions, sitting in restaurants, and walking through Philadelphia. Physical interaction. The filmmakers establish that with enough emotional effort, Malcolm can impact the physical world. However, in public settings like the restaurant, Malcolm doesn't move his chair when sitting down, maintaining the illusion that nothing strange is happening from the perspective of living people. This rule reveals sophisticated world-building about ghost limitations. Ghosts in the sixth sense aren't powerless, but their ability to affect physical reality is tied to emotional intensity. Malcolm can slam a door when he is consumed by jealousy and pain, but he can't perform simple physical tasks like pulling out a chair when he's calm. Watch the restaurant scene frame by frame. Malcolm approaches the table, and the camera angle suggests he's sitting down with Anna, but he never touches the chair. It never moves. To any observer in that restaurant, there's just a sad woman having dinner alone at a table for two. The empty chair stays empty because Malcolm cannot move it, and he is not physically present enough to manipulate objects unless extreme emotion is involved. In the end, we see that Malcolm's most desperate moment, which was wanting to confront the man who might be replacing him, eventually gives him enough emotional energy to affect the physical world. However, in the restaurant with his wife, when he most wants to connect with her, he is powerless. Other examples in the film include the red doorknob, where Malcolm repeatedly tries to open the basement door but can't because he lacks the physical presence to turn a knob. The scene where Anna drops her wedding ring and Malcolm doesn't pick it up. Eventually, Dr. Hill picks it up and returns it to her. Malcolm is also often shown reading files about Cole. However, if you observe, you will notice he is reading files that are already open. We never see him open a drawer, pick up a folder, or physically manipulate documents in a way that would be noticed by others. If he could fully interact with the physical world, he would notice something was wrong. However, because he could occasionally affect things, he didn't question his existence for a while, as he was too engrossed in the Cole situation. The emotional point of view. Shyamalan's approach was to put the audience completely in Malcolm's shoes. The goal was that at the end, you feel exactly what Malcolm felt: shock, disbelief, and the crushing realization that what you thought was true isn't true. This eventually becomes the philosophical foundation of the entire film's structure. Most plot twists in some movies prioritize cleverness over emotional truth. However, The Sixth Sense makes you believe Malcolm's reality so entirely that the revelation feels like you were betrayed, more or less. Shyamalan achieves this through several techniques, which include subjective camera work. Many scenes are shot from Malcolm's perspective, or from angles that assume his presence is real and acknowledged. When he is in a room with other characters, the camera frames them together as if they're genuinely interacting. Another technique used is editing. Conversations are edited to suggest back-and-forth dialogue when, in the real sense, only one person is speaking. Malcolm talks, then there's a cutaway, then someone else talks, but they are not responding to him. They are continuing their train of thought while our brains fill in the gaps, all of which created the impression that he is part of the living world. It's only when you rewatch some of the scenes that you realize that you cannot even hear his footsteps. So when Bruce Willis plays Malcolm, he does so with complete sincerity. He believes he is alive, and his performance is grounded in that truth. Haley Joel Osment was also kept somewhat in the dark about the whole twist, so his reactions to Malcolm are genuine. When the revelation eventually comes, you then realize that you weren't watching Malcolm's story from the outside. You were living inside his delusion. The shock you feel is the shock of realizing you've been wrong about fundamental reality for 2 hours, and that emotional honesty is why The Sixth Sense holds up on repeat viewings. The red color. The color red appears throughout The Sixth Sense, and the producers confirmed it's not random. Red marks anything in the real world that has been tainted by the other world. It signals moments when the living and the dead are connected. It also marks explosively emotional situations. The film was shot with standard colors. Then, in post-production, they desaturated everything. They made the colors muted, cooler, and washed out. Then they added red back in, but only in specific places where it served the story. An instance is when Cole wears a red sweater while in the church, seeing hanged people. It's the moment when Cole seeks sanctuary from the ghosts haunting him. The red sweater marks him as someone caught between worlds. The mother who poisoned her daughter wears red at the funeral. She's the living person who caused death and who created ghosts. Anna wears a red dress at the anniversary dinner when she's trying to feel close to her dead husband. She is attempting to bridge the gap between life and death, to maintain a connection with Malcolm. The red marks this desperate emotional moment. The girl who was poisoned, Kira, appears to Cole wearing red pajamas. She's the ghost reaching out and trying to save her younger sister from the same fate. She ends up saving her sister when Cole retrieves the box containing the VHS tape, which shows evidence of foul play implicating her father, is red. The red doorknob to the basement, where ghosts and Cole communicate. There are also red balloons at the birthday party where spirits are present. The carpet at the birthday party is also red. Even Malcolm's professional work is marked by red because he is documenting someone who sees dead people. The volume numbers on Malcolm's tape recorder are red. Every appearance tells a story. Every red object serves a purpose, and this is visual storytelling at its finest. The hospital scene.
In the hospital, Cole tells everything about Malcolm to the audience. They see dead people, they see them all.
In the hospital scene where Malcolm is sitting with Cole, Cole tells the audience everything they need to know. He says, they see dead people. They see them all the time. They don't know they're dead. And while Cole is saying this, the camera keeps cutting to Malcolm's face. Close-ups of Malcolm listening, processing, reacting. The producers initially worried they would be too obvious. They thought audiences would immediately get it because the camera was focused on Malcolm while Cole said, they don't know they're dead. But nobody caught it. Not on first viewing. Why? Because of context. We assume Malcolm is the helper, not someone who needs help. So we expect the psychologist to study the patient, not to be the patient, and as a result, our expectations blind us to what is right in front of us. The interaction between Malcolm and Cole's mom. There's a scene where Malcolm is sitting in the living room with Cole's mom, Lynn. On first viewing, they have been discussing Cole's case. The editing and staging suggest a conversation just concluded or is about to begin. But when you watch it again, they never interact. So, here's what's really happening. Lynn is sitting in her living room, waiting for her son to come home. She is exhausted, worried, and overwhelmed by Cole's behavioral issues and the challenges of being a single mother. Malcolm is also in the room as a ghost who believes he is doing his job, observing the home environment, waiting to speak with Cole. The editing creates the illusion of interaction. Lynn looks troubled, and we assume she is responding to Malcolm's questions. Malcolm seems thoughtful and he is listening to her concerns. There are pauses and we believe someone is thinking before reacting, but they are not looking at each other. Their eye lines don't match, and Lynn's gaze goes through Malcolm or past him. This scene demonstrates the film's core technique, using audience assumptions about scene structure against them. However, the absolute truth is that Lynn is entirely alone. She's dealing with a son who claims to see dead people, struggling financially, and exhausted from single parenthood. Malcolm sits in her living room believing he is there to help, but he is just another ghost that Cole will have to deal with. The flashback.
Going back and showing them the moments that they missed right now.
When Malcolm discovers the truth, which was finding his wife asleep, seeing the wedding ring and realizing no one has spoken to him, the film rapidly cuts to previous scenes. You see Anna dropping the ring, Malcolm trying to open the red doorknob, Anna at the restaurant alone, the anniversary dinner with the check in front of Anna only, Malcolm sitting beside Anna's sleeping form, conversations where people walked past Malcolm without acknowledgement. This wasn't just thrown together. The producers revealed that Shyamalan specifically designed this moment to serve multiple purposes. First, there was the validation that you weren't seeing things because the clues were always there. Second, there was an emotional emphasis that reinforced the tragedy of what we just learned. Third was narrative closure, which quickly tied together loose threads. Fourth was audience satisfaction, which rewarded attentive viewers who might have sensed something wrong. However, because Shyamalan didn't want to bog down the emotions with lengthy flashbacks, the flashback sequence only lasts about 30 to 45 seconds. Cole's white hair. Cole has a white streak in his hair.
of white hair that everyone's like, what's that about? What's that all about? It's just one of those details that I put in.
And the producers revealed it was added because it's what reality would look like. People who experience severe trauma sometimes lose pigment in their hair. Shyamalan thought it made sense for a kid to turn around and see someone with an arm hanging off. This is called a Malin streak or poliosis. While the overnight version is debated scientifically, sudden hair whitening can occur due to extreme psychological trauma, alopecia areata, in which pigmented hairs fall out, leaving white ones, or severe stress that affects melanin production. The white streak was created by Haley Joel Osment, who applied hair coloring for every day of shooting. The makeup team had to ensure consistency throughout the non-sequential filming schedule, maintaining the exact placement and width of the streak across months of production. The case with Disney. When Shyamalan's script started circulating in Hollywood, he came with conditions. As he told The Hollywood Reporter, his message was crystal clear. I have to be attached as director, and we are going to have a $1 million minimum bid. If they want to read it, they have to know that this is going to start at $1 million. Now remember that this is 1988, and Shyamalan had just come off a movie that made waves. But when David Vogel, who was president of production at Walt Disney Studios at the time, read the script, he saw something. Vogel bought the rights for $2.25 million without corporate approval, because he knew if he waited, there would be a bidding war and Disney might lose it. When Disney found out, they were furious and told Vogel to restructure his contract. Vogel disagreed, and by 1999, he was fired. At the same time, Disney also had so little faith in the movie that they sold the production rights to Spyglass Entertainment. A few years before playing Malcolm Crowe, Bruce Willis was expected to star in and produce another Disney film, Broadway Brawler. Unfortunately, 20 days into production, things went south. It turned out Willis was unhappy with the work being produced, so he started firing people. The cinematographer, the wardrobe designer, the director, and even his own co-producer. By this point, over half of the film's $20 million budget was already spent. On realizing this, Willis then hired a replacement director to try and salvage things, but Disney pulled the plug before another scene could be shot. Disney hit Willis with a $17.5 million lawsuit, and they had a strong case. The William Morris Agency, which represented Willis, jumped in to negotiate him out of this mess. The deal they came up with had Willis starring in 3 Disney films at a heavily reduced salary. At the time, it didn't look like much. In hindsight, however, it saved his career. The first film was Armageddon. Willis got paid $3 million, which was $17 million below his usual asking price. The difference went straight to Disney to cover for the Broadway Brawler disaster. Willis even won a Golden Raspberry for his role, and commercially, it became the highest-grossing film of 1998. The third and final film was The Kid in 2000, which made a modest amount at the box office. These were the 3 films in a row that helped secure Willis's career after an event that could have ended it. Michael Cera's audition. Michael Cera once auditioned for the role of Cole, though he had no idea what the film was truly about. At the time, he was just a young actor trying to land a significant role, one that would be based on Cole's past as the boy who could see dead people. However, Cera had no idea what the movie was really about. This made things awkward during his audition. In an interview with Esquire in 2009, Cera shared that the casting breakdown didn't mention anything about ghosts or the film's plot. So when he went in to read his lines, he thought it was just a drama about a boy and his doctor. He said, "I didn't know it was about seeing dead people." The scene he was given was one of the most emotional moments in the film, where Cole tells Dr. Malcolm, who was played by Bruce Willis, "Some magic's real." In the actual movie, Haley Joel Osment delivers that line with tears in his eyes, breaking down as the truth sinks in. However, during his audition, Cera performed it entirely differently. He said the line with a smile, hopeful, like a kid talking about something exciting. When he later saw the finished film, Cera realized just how far off his interpretation had been. He laughed about it years later, saying he understood why he didn't get the part. Still, even though he didn't land the role, that audition became a funny story he would carry throughout his career. He played Vincent Gray, Malcolm's former patient, whose brief but powerful scene sets the entire story in motion. What many people don't know is that Wahlberg went through a profound physical and emotional transformation to make that moment feel real. Before filming, Wahlberg was better known as a member of the pop group New Kids on the Block, but he wanted to prove himself as an actor. To prepare for Vincent's mental and emotional breakdown, he decided to live in the role. How did he achieve this? Donnie went ahead to lose about 43 pounds in just 5 weeks. This was an extreme transformation that shocked even the crew. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Wahlberg explained that the director, M. Night Shyamalan, told him that his scene had to kickstart the movie. Rather than feeling pressured, Wahlberg focused on honoring the story. He moved to New York, lived in a friend's apartment with no money, and barely ate. He said he would sometimes fast for days, only chewing gum or eating small portions of vegetables. He even slept in a park one night to understand what loneliness and hopelessness truly felt like. So, when filming began, he later admitted that he wanted to appear completely naked in the scene to show how vulnerable his character was, but the studio had to keep it PG-13, so he wore underwear instead. Shyamalan as Dr. Hill. M. Night Shyamalan cast himself as Dr. Hill as a tribute to his parents, both of whom are doctors. Nevertheless, he ended up leaving most of his performance on the cutting room floor because he was dissatisfied with his own performance. Despite this rocky start, Shyamalan gave himself another chance and has since appeared in nearly all of his films, following in the footsteps of directors like Hitchcock and Spielberg. Interestingly, unlike those filmmakers who simply insert themselves into brief shots, Shyamalan writes substantial characters for himself. These characters often play instrumental roles in advancing the story. In The Sixth Sense, for instance, his doctor character draws Toni Collette's attention to the mysterious cuts and bruises on her son's body, thereby controlling the flow of crucial information. Bruce Willis's ambidextrous acting trick. To preserve the film's shocking twist about Malcolm's actual condition, the left-handed Bruce Willis learned to write and draw with his right hand. This clever technique prevented observant viewers from noticing that his wedding ring had disappeared from his left hand, thereby maintaining the illusion until the film's climactic reveal. One of the most talked-about elements of The Sixth Sense is its unforgettable twist ending. The shocking moment audiences realize that Dr. Malcolm Crowe, played by Bruce Willis, has been dead the entire time. M. Night Shyamalan and his team worked extremely hard to protect that secret before the film's release. However, despite all that effort, one small oversight nearly ruined the surprise for anyone paying close attention. The potential spoiler came from the film's soundtrack. Composed by the legendary James Newton Howard, the score was praised for its emotional tone. But when the official CD was released, the very last track was titled Malcolm is Dead. Anyone flipping the CD case over in a store could have accidentally discovered the film's most crucial revelation before even watching it. Thankfully, the soundtrack wasn't released until a few weeks after the movie had already hit theaters in August 1999. Still, for fans who may have picked it up early, that single track title gave away what Shyamalan had worked so carefully to hide. Bruce Willis humor. While The Sixth Sense is remembered for its eerie atmosphere and emotional depth, behind the camera, things weren't nearly as bleak. In fact, Bruce Willis, the film's protagonist, played a surprising role in keeping spirits high on set. Even though he had initially joined the project to fulfill a contractual obligation with Disney after a failed deal, Willis didn't treat it like a burden. Instead, he threw himself into making it a memorable experience for everyone involved. According to M. Night Shyamalan, Willis often turned the quiet film set into a lively after-hours scene. Once filming wrapped for the day, he would host small parties for the cast and crew, acting as the DJ himself. Shyamalan recalled in an interview with Variety that Willis loved playing upbeat tracks and kept encouraging everyone to relax after the long shooting days. "He definitely gave me my first hangover," Shyamalan joked. Willis would hand him shots, calling them candy, not realizing how strong they were until the next morning. It's easy to forget that filming a movie full of sadness and fear can take an emotional toll. M. Night Shyamalan built tension through silence, stillness, and suggestion rather than revealing too much. However, one deleted scene might have entirely changed the movie's tone and pushed it beyond what viewers could handle. Years later, during a Reddit Ask Me Anything, Haley Joel Osment revealed that a scene was shot inside the hospital in which his character, Cole, looks out the window and sees something horrifying. According to Osment, the entire hospital wing was filled with ghosts, men, women, and children, who were all disfigured and mutilated, staring back at him from dozens of windows. The imagery was so disturbing that Shyamalan decided to cut it out before the film's release. Looking back, it was a wise, creative choice. By removing that scene, Shyamalan preserved the movie's psychological tension rather than turning it into graphic horror. The director has often said in interviews that he believes what we imagine is scarier than what we see, and this decision reflected that philosophy perfectly. Even without that deleted scene, The Sixth Sense kept audiences gripping their seats. The restrained, thoughtful approach to fear made it more believable and ultimately more frightening. It's one of the reasons the film still holds up today. When the cast realized just how scary it was. It's funny to think that even the people who made The Sixth Sense didn't know how terrifying it truly was until after filming ended. Mischa Barton, who played Kira, the ghostly girl poisoned by her mother, didn't realize how disturbing her scene looked until she went in for post-production. While recording extra dialogue in New York, she brought her little sister along. Mischa later laughed about it, saying her sister was so scared she had to be taken out of the studio. That was when she realized just how scary the movie had become. A haunted filming location. Most of the movie's indoor scenes were filmed in an old convention center in Philadelphia, M. Night Shyamalan's hometown. Haley Joel Osment, who played Cole, said the place had long, echoing marble hallways that reminded him of The Shining. He also mentioned that John F. Kennedy once gave a campaign speech there back in 1960. Mischa Barton recalled that many people on set believed the place was actually haunted. She said there was a strange, heavy feeling in the air. And though nobody could prove anything, Shyamalan seemed to enjoy the spooky atmosphere, which helped set the mood for the story they were telling. Toni Collette's secret audition and her wig story. When Toni Collette came in to audition for the role of Lynn, Cole's mom, she looked completely different. Her head was shaved at the time. Shyamalan worried that the studio might not approve her because of her look, so he decided not to show them her audition tape. Instead, luckily, Bruce Willis backed him up, saying he loved her performance in that film. That support sealed the deal. What many people don't realize is that Toni wore a wig throughout the entire movie. According to Shyamalan, it was borrowed from the set of Velvet Goldmine because they didn't even have a backup wig. The strange coincidences Toni experienced while filming. Toni Collette had her own share of unsettling moments. In an interview with Slant magazine years later, she said she began meditating often while staying at her hotel in Philadelphia. But night after night, she would wake up at the same time, 1:11 in the morning, 3:33 in the morning, and 4:44 in the morning. At first, she brushed it off, but when it kept happening, it started to creep her out. She called it one of the weirdest experiences she had ever had while working on a movie. Mischa Barton's unforgettable vomit scene. One of the most memorable and quite disturbing scenes in The Sixth Sense is when Kira, the ghost girl, appears and vomits in front of Cole. To make that scene realistic, the production crew kept the set cold so viewers could see everyone's breath, which added to the chilling effect. For the vomit, Barton was given a mixture of cereal and bananas to hold in her mouth until the right moment. I was 13. I could handle it. She didn't even tell her friends she was in the movie. When one of them went to see it, they were so shocked by her scene that they ran out of the theater thinking she had passed on. Helping Haley Joel Osment cry on cue. Haley Joel Osment gave one of the most powerful performances ever by a child actor, but even he had challenging moments. In one emotional scene, he just couldn't cry, no matter how hard he tried. That's when actor Eugene Osment, Haley's real-life father, suggested something unusual. He told Bruce Willis to shout his lines off camera to startle Haley into tears. The idea worked perfectly, and the emotional take made it into the final cut. The birthday release that changed everything. The Sixth Sense hit theaters on August 6, 1999. This day also happened to be Shyamalan's 20th birthday. The director took that as a good omen. His first two movies, Praying with Anger, released in 1992, and Wide Awake, 1998, barely made $350,000 combined. But The Sixth Sense was a different story entirely. The film earned over $8 million on its first day. It went on to make $672.8 million worldwide, becoming the highest-grossing horror movie of all time, until it took the crown in 2017. It was also the best-selling DVD of the year 2000. What's even more surprising, recall that Disney originally had little faith in the project, yet it turned out to be one of the studio's biggest critical and commercial successes, all thanks to a story that still gives audiences chills decades later. The Sixth Sense wasn't just any thriller, it was a puzzle we're still piecing together today. So next time you watch it, keep an eye out. You can spot one of these hidden details for yourself.